Welcome back to Face the State. I'm Ariana Bennett. Thank you for keeping it here. Well, if you are tightening up the budget and cutting unnecessary spending right now, you are definitely not alone. Prices are up year over year again. But at the same time, other economic indicators are looking healthy enough. So what gives? I'm back with Dr. Elliot Parker from the UNR Economics Department. Thank you again for coming on the show and helping demystify all of this for us. So I think what I'm hearing from a lot of people, so we have, on the one hand, we have GDP growth, we have stock markets doing well, gold prices surging, we have profits for big corporations, and then on the other hand, we have individual families struggling at a level that I don't think I have seen since the Great Recession. What is going on here?
Some economists have called this essentially a K-shaped economy. And by that, you think of the two bars of the K. One's pointing up. And so if you're in the top 10% and you own a significant amount of stocks, right, you're doing pretty well right now. You're seeing your wealth increase. You know, S&P 500 is up 14% overall, since January 1st. And some of that you can trace to the tax bill, because whenever you reduce corporate income taxes, and you're going to see rising stock prices. And some of it is just due to what we were talking about before, right, with what's going on in the stock market, the enthusiasm for, in particular, AI stocks. But then most of us are on the bottom part of that K. Now, that's not normal. Usually when there's a tendency, yeah, the economy's big. We got 330 million people. There's lots of different things going on. But generally, we're doing well together more. But we've been having growing inequality in this country since the 1980s. And we're now seeing the expression of that, in a sense, that most people are finding things less affordable. And they're about to find things much less affordable, not just the tariffs, but for example, there's roughly 40 million people who are losing their food stamps right this month. You've got at least 20 million people who are going to see their health care premiums rise significantly, in the next couple of months. And, housing has, certainly in the post-pandemic period, there was this big run up in the cost of housing. We're seeing electric bills have gone up significantly, and some of that may be due to AI, right? Because there's more demand for electricity. And so we're not all in the same boat anymore, right? Some of us are doing very well, and some of us, we're hearing this overall news that the economy seems to be doing okay, but we're not doing so good. And, foreclosures, for example, are up. You're starting to see people are taking longer to pay off their cars. They're getting longer car loans, for example, sometimes exceeding the length of the car life, right?
Yeah, credit card payment defaults are up, right. Student loan payment defaults are up. Yeah, there's quite a few of these. I just read one that was a study on hamburger helper, and when hamburger helper sales go up, it's an indicator that the economy is suffering. Likewise, when cardboard box demand goes down, it's an indicator that the economy is suffering. I thought those were two really interesting metrics.
One of my favorite was the men's underwear, that apparently when times are hard, men consider new underwear to be a luxury. And so they basically
Notice it's specific to men.
It's just specific to men, that they're likely to, put off buying new underwear for another year or two.
Okay. But this is a fascinating study on when we have limited resources, how we allocate them, and then how that can show up kind of in the economy overall. And I think it's a difficult situation for so many families hearing the messaging that this is a golden age for America. Meanwhile, they are, every single time they go to the grocery store, grimacing at the total.
Yes, and on top of it, we're losing reliability of the data, right? The government shutdown has meant that a lot of government data is no longer being produced. Even before that, there were a number of firings and layoffs in the various agencies that collected data, so the data we were collecting was less thorough, less reliable. And then now we're seeing the politicization of the data. You know, the commissioner of the Bureau of Labor Statistics, who had nothing to do with creating the data, got fired because the Trump administration didn't like what the data said. And so how do we even trust the data that's coming out? So we've got the lag problem, the lack of data, and then the reliability issue that we're all very concerned about.
All right, so we talked about a lot of the big picture issues in the first segment, some of the smaller family-facing issues in this segment. When you put all of this picture together, this K-shaped economy, like you said, what can families take moving into 2026? What can they expect the economy to do, or can we know?
Well, I think a lot of families are doing what they have to do. They already know this. There's a reason why people aren't quitting jobs right now, because a lot of people are nervous that if they quit their job, they're not going to find another job. There's a lot of families who are not trying to make big purchases at the moment. They're trying to hold off on that, because they don't know if they're going to be able to pay it back, right? So at some level, families are already responding to these pressures they're seeing.
So then, if enough people do that, that would, in theory, prompt some changes, like drops in prices maybe, or potentially a recession.
Could, but remember, it's being offset now by all this money that's going into, say, building new data centers for AI, right? And the money that, the wealth that people feel. What you've seen is that the increase in consumption this year, particularly the last quarter, the second quarter, when the economy grew well, that is mostly being driven by the top 10%. So they're currently accounting for about 50% of the growth in consumption spending, right? So the bottom 90% is the other 50%. And so, can the wealthy or the upper income people, can they continue to maintain the economy and keep it growing? Maybe for a little bit, but now we're back to the question of, is this economy using its resources efficiently? Are we going to continue to grow? At the end of 2024, our economy was really the envy of the world. We were, for any major economy, developed economy, we were growing fastest on a per capita basis, right? And I don't think we're going to see that in 2025 or 2026. I'm not saying recession. There is, predictions are still, it's a coin flip. But I think most of us think that we will be seeing slower growth, and hopefully this won't get bad enough that it tips us over the edge.
All right, well, we have a little over a minute left. What other walking knowledge do we need, Professor?
Well, we are also seeing, the effects of the government shutdown right now. We're having the longest shutdown I think we've ever seen.
Close to it.
And, at the moment, the federal workforce is, like less than 3% of the population. So in terms of the hardship faced by them not getting paychecks, many of them expect, normally they would get paid back afterwards. But you're starting to see the effect of people who are starting to call in sick, those who are necessary employees like TSA employees or air traffic controllers, and things are going to start getting tougher. We've been lucky. The hurricane that hit Jamaica is one of the few that has actually hit land. Most of the hurricanes have veered off into the Atlantic. What if one of those hurricanes actually hits the East Coast and we no longer have a functioning FEMA, right? And so, we're playing a very risky game right now.
All right, Professor, thank you for that. We are out of time, but thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.
Thank you.